EG4's 18K and FlexBOSS21 share a lot of the same features. So many so that a lot of people are actually starting to have problems deciding which one is best for them. We've done a full review video on the 18K on the channel. We've also done a first look video at the FlexBOSS21. We've been putting it through some more recent testing, but we've realized that just based on the comments we're getting on those two videos, unless we take both of these units and put them directly head to head, a lot of you guys are still gonna have some troubles figuring out which one might actually be best for you. So welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. Before we get anywhere, I just want to get out in front of it and say, yes, the 18K is a legendary EG4 inverter. This is probably one of their biggest, best, and most prominent inverters that they've ever made. The FlexBOSS though was kind of built to solve a couple problems that this thing had. It's a little bit cheaper, it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit better, but at the end of the day, there's still, well, maybe small, a small group of people that the 18K might actually be best for. But before we get into where each one is different, where it shines, and what application it might be best suited for, we're gonna kind of start with where they're both the same. So both of these inverters are high frequency split phase inverters, meaning they run 240 volts. They both run off 48 volt batteries. They can both be used in hybrid or off-grid situations. And they both have UL listings and are certified to connect to the grid in most states. They're also both NEMA 4X rated, so they're both rated to be outside in different weather conditions. They both have closed communications with EG4 batteries, which is very nice. And both of them have great support from Jimmy at the boys over at Signature Solar, which we love. Starting off with the FlexBOSS21, the key pros when you compare it to the 18K is really most of the numbers are just bigger. Starting with the solar input. Solar input on the 18K is 18K, and the solar input on this guy is 21 kilowatts, which is great if you're trying to sell power back. You can actually make a bunch more money, or if you're just trying to charge up your batteries, you could charge them a lot faster. Both of these inverters have a 12,000 watt output, but when solar is present, this unit can actually do 16,000 watts continuous, which is 4,000 more than the 18K. This unit also has a much bigger surge, up to 24 kilowatts. This one's rated to actually start a 5-ton air conditioner straight out of the box. And it also has 66 amps of continuous output in an off-grid setup. And when it comes to use cases for this thing, basically the reason it even exists is because EG4 was like, hey, everybody that's going off-grid and they don't have any grid power they're tapping into, that's buying the 18K is overspending. The 18K has a 200 amp service pass-through that's only meant to be designed so you can put grid power into the unit. And if you're using it off grid, you don't need that. So they went ahead and removed it from this. While they were in there, they basically just upgraded everything. So it's a little bit higher inputs all the way around. But that's how this unit came to be. They made it about $700 cheaper because you don't need the 200 amp pass through if you're going off grid. Then they decided to make the GridBOSS to pair with this, because when you go ahead and install an 18K legally and you're trying to get it up to code, you need manual transfer switch, bypass switch, wiring, all these other things that you need to install outside of the inverter to actually have it pass code. So they put all those things into the GridBOSS, gave it some bonus features like smart ports and stuff like that. And then that is about $700 cheaper than just the 2 switches and wires used to be. So all in all, you're saving about $1,400 if you buy this with the GridBOSS versus buying this and having it legally installed in a lot of states. So pretty much every use case is what this was built for. It was built for off-grid to be cheaper and bigger and better. And it was built for on-grid to be cheaper and bigger and better. There's really nobody that could go wrong with buying the FlexBOSS over the 18K, because it does everything this unit does, assuming you understand that like off-grid, you're just comparing inverter to inverter, and on-grid, you're comparing inverter and GridBOSS to inverter and mandatory switches and wiring and stuff, which is an expense that a lot of people don't even think about till they actually go to get it done. And this thing's also better for people with bigger loads. If you have like a 5-ton air conditioner, massive well pumps, big items that you're trying to run that maybe the 18K just can't do, this unit can probably get it done. This could also be better for people with shitload of space. 21 kilowatts of solar is a lot. But if you have the room, if you're a farmer or you just have a big field near your house that you can get that much solar into, this is obviously going to be the better unit because it allows you to utilize a shitload more solar. It's also, finally, better for large-scale commercial situations because all of the inputs and outputs are bigger and better, and you can still scale the system a lot and for less money. But coming back to the 18K PV, the first and biggest difference between this and the FlexBOSS is this still has the 200 amp service pass-through. That's where you need the GridBOSS paired with the FlexBOSS to be able to actually run it in a on-grid setup. So this unit was designed to, sure, you have to buy your manual transfer switch, bypass switch to actually get it to meet code to install it, but you can just install this, put grid power directly into it. You have one unit, one and done, you're ready to go. That is though why it was a little bit more expensive. It also has a 50 amp continuous output for off-grid situations. It also has generator ports, which you can use for AC coupling, which is kind of cool if you have an existing system and you're not just starting fresh. It's a lot easier to throw this unit into the mix. It also comes with a touchscreen, which yeah, you can get one for the FlexBOSS for like $100, but this is probably the best touchscreen that we have ever used on an inverter. In our opinion, it makes the most sense. There's a frequently asked questions page built into it. So if you get confused, you don't even need the manual, you just go on the screen. Very nice, intuitive. And here's where the very specific use cases might come in where this unit actually is the better buy for you over something like the FlexBOSS. The first one would be if you don't want to incorporate the GridBOSS into your system, which would sound weird because if you buy the FlexBOSS and the GridBOSS, you save about $1,400 total versus just buying this and then buying the mandatory switches and wiring for it to be able to meet code. Plus it's a little bit of a cleaner setup. I think that there's like a very specific way that if I explain it, that person might make sense. For example, if you had a small cottage or a cabin, it already has grid power and you want to convert it over to solar. Maybe you don't have enough loads to maximize the output of the FlexBOSS. Maybe you don't have the right loads to maximize the smart outputs of the GridBOSS. Maybe you don't have nearly enough solar to need the very large solar input of the FlexBOSS. Maybe you just don't have enough room on your wall in this small little place to have two full-size inverters side by side. Maybe you already had some existing solar setup and you have the manual bypass switches and wiring already, so you're not going to have that added expense when you go ahead to install the 18K. If you're that kind of person, the 18K probably makes sense. There's also another probably very small group of people, but according to Signature Solar, they do exist, that will buy this strictly because it has a screen incorporated right there on the front. The FlexBOSS has a screen, but when you go ahead and install it, it's actually behind the door, so you got to walk up, open it, kind of do your screen thing, close it. Signature Solar says that there's a group of people that just want the screen, which I can't blame them for doing. I would prefer the screen, but I'm a sucker for a good deal. But honestly, it's kind of hard to say. I feel like the FlexBOSS was a genuine innovation that just kind of dated the 18K, saved us all a little bit of money, time. It's bigger, it's better, and it really kind of started to make this the minority. For 99% of people, it probably does make more sense to just go with the FlexBOSS, because why would you not want more for less? So at the end of the day, they released the FlexBOSS to solve a very specific problem, and in doing so, they kind of made the 18K a weird unit right now in time. If this unit gets cheaper, that could be really good news for it. But as of right now, how they stand with this being a cheaper option than this, I feel like for 99% of people, the FlexBOSS is just the way to go. It's just an evolution of what the 18K was, and it makes sense to just get the newer, cheaper, bigger unit. And ideally, EG4 comes out with the same thing, but in an even smaller package for people that don't need all of that input. They need something similar in size to the 18K, and we can save even more money. Because let's face it, not everyone has a 21 kilowatt solar array. That's crazy. It's cool, but it's crazy. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with us? Do you think the 18K PV will stick around? Do you have maybe a person in mind that we didn't really talk about who may actually benefit from the 18K? If you do, let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, that's all we got for you guys. We will catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out and stay charged.